Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is all about some birthday cards, and we were going to be using the couple of new Spellbinders kits for May. So this is the embossing folder. It's these cute little candles. We're going to use this for 2 of the cards. And then the clear stamp and die kit. Again, birthday themed, super cute. And then this one is actually the small die of the month. I only used portions of it, but it's this really cute little airplane. And I have a feeling it's probably going to sell out fast. So if you're interested in it, I would snatch it up. But I'm only going to be using the banners portion of this. I'm hoping to do a video a little later using the whole thing, using the actual airplane, because I have an idea for a scene card and it just really didn't fit the theme of what we were doing here. So here I have some Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock, and I am just spritzing the back of it, or what I thought was the back of it, and putting it in the embossing folder, and then just running that through my Platinum 6. Here you can see all the little candles embossed, super cute. And then I can't help myself, honestly. I love 3D embossing folders, and I really like them for the texture. But a lot of times I really like the images that are on there and I want to make them pop. So I'm coloring it. Yep, I am. Couple of things of warning. I did not do any shading on this because the way alcohol markers work, and in my case I'm using Copics, but you could use any. I didn't have good luck with colored pencils. You might be able to do this on watercolor paper and watercolor them. I bet you could. Or you could use water-based markers. That would probably be okay as well because they're not really doing too much shading on the candles. But anyway, because alcohol markers absorb into the fibers of the paper, you do have to approach this with a very light hand. Because if you go in and completely saturate it, it's going to bleed outside of that embossing because there's nothing to catch it. You know what I'm saying? It's like no line coloring. So wherever you put the marker down, you're going to be able to see it. There's no black outline to kind of hide any boo-boos. So you do want to go in with a light hand. I colored right over the designs that are embossed into it because I have a game plan for how to make those pop a little later. So I'm just going through. I picked out a rainbow of colors. There isn't a right or a wrong combination. I just like having birthday cards are one of the few that I actually use. Like of my cards that I actually use. I know that's sad because I make so many cards. But birthday cards are first and foremost always get the most use. So I like having just general ones on hand. And so for me, that's rainbow. Plus rainbows make me happy. Okay. They just do. So I went through, I did all the colors of the rainbow, and then I added a pink as well, again, because I wanted to, and it's my card, and I do what I want. And so once those are done, I'm going to just continue doing all of the colors. I just kept repeating the same pattern until all of them were filled in. And then for the candle, just to keep it simple, I used a little bit of a darker yellow on the bottom of the flame, and then that same YO2 that I used for my yellow candle at the top of the flame. This was really like super minimal blending. I didn't go back and forth over it. I just added the dark and then went over the top of it with the light. And because they're so close to each other, they blended without me really having to do a whole lot of work outside just making sure that my area was colored in. For the little wicks, I think I went with a C3. I just went with a gray so that it would show up. But it might have been a hair too dark. Oh, I went with a C5. I should have went with a C3. So they might have just been a smidge too dark. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think it was a super big deal. So now that those are all colored in, the other thing that I did just to kind of get a little bit more dimension, since I knew, at least for one of my cards, this was going to be my focal point. I went in and just added a little drop shadow. So I like to do my drop shadow down and to the left. So I just went in with my darkest color, did a little line on the left-hand side and on the bottom, and then I'm blending that out with a C1. And I did this for all of the candles. I know that it seems like a lot, but it really didn't take very long, and I think that it makes a lot of difference in making those candles look like they pop off the page, because they literally do. That's the joy of embossing. in order to bring those designs back in, as well as make some of the plain candles pop a little bit, I went in with a white gel pen. If it already had a predetermined design that was embossed into it, I just accentuated that. If it was a plain candle that needed just maybe a little extra something, I alternated between like polka dots and stripes. There were some I think I did triangles on. You could just totally keep it super simple. This is just gonna, again, because I know this is going to be a focal point of at least one of my cards, adding these little details can really help those things to stand on their own. You know, a lot of times we look at an embossing folder as a like a component of the card, but not the main focal point of the card. You can use embossing folders to add texture. You know, it's just like this extra thing that you do, but it can be a focal point if you go in there and do things that are those little details and those little extras. So here I was just kind of getting my sizing right for my arch, which we will die cut later, and then I'm going to move on to the stamping. So this clear stamp, which is a part of the clear stamp and die set, you can also, there's a clear stamp kit as well, you could just get the stamp, is one piece. So I'm going to stamp all of these images at one time. Something super cool that Spellbinders has started doing with a lot of their kits lately is there are dies for like the top and the bottom portion, but then there's also individual dies for like the hat and the cupcake and the present, so that you can use them separately from this large image, which I really just think gives the kit more mileage, and I'm totally here for that. Like anything that will allow me to stretch my supplies, I'm here for. So speaking of rainbows, I thought that I was going to use this piece a little bit differently than I ended up using it, but I did just a quick rainbow blend background with some distress inks, and I just chose colors that matched the same colors that I had already done the candles in, because you guys know me in my photos, everything's got to be super matchy. So I did picked raspberry, candied apple, carved pumpkin, mustard seed, mowed lawn, salty ocean, prize ribbon, and wilted violet. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't think of them. So just to be clear, I know that I'm only going to be using the outer edge portion of this, so I am not super worried about blending the middle well or getting lots of saturation there. Either I was going to use it as an A2 like size background so that you would see the border all the way around my image, or what I ended up doing, which was actually just using the left and right hand side. But either way, the middle portion was always going to be covered up, and so I'm not super worried about getting that great blend there. I will say after I did the first go round, I did go back in and blend them a second time just because I feel like it gives me a better blend. So once I get out to the purple, I then here I'm just checking to see if I like it or not, and then I will go back and do the purple back through the pink. Now the other way we're going to do a rainbow is we're going to color this image all sorts of rainbow colors. There's a lot of Spellbinders has amazing designers and guest designers, and so there's been a lot of examples that are already on their website, and several of them are like softer colors, which I think is beautiful because it's got all this great greenery and these little flowers in here, but that's not my jam. Softer colors are not typically my jam, so I went with some bolder, bright colors. I am going to speed this up a little bit just because we're making 3 cards and one of them is a shaker. That one goes completely awry, but don't worry, I left in all my boo-boos so that you can learn from me and not do what I do. But I think that's, you guys know, you watch my videos, I think it's super important to share the struggles that we have or the things that we've tried that maybe didn't work out, because then that's going to maybe prompt you to have some ideas to come up with something that will work out, or save you the time and the hassle of having to try it yourself. So I did leave that in. The shaker goes awry. It does get made. It does end up being a super cute card that I'm actually very happy with. But the struggle to get there was it was a bit much. It's all right though. But anyway, so that is why after these little green guys here, I'm going to speed up the coloring portion. I'm pretty sure there's nothing in here that you haven't seen me color before, but if you got this kit and you're like, okay, I really want to know how to color it or how she colored it, she being me, you certainly can. There are settings in YouTube that will allow you to slow it down to change the speed. I would recommend putting me on mute or I am going to sound like I am in slow motion. But there's plenty of people who actually watch my videos on fast speed as well. And then I sound like Alvin the Chipmunk. It's fine. But yeah, if you don't want to have to hear me kind of droning on, I would mute it. And that's my recommendation, even if you don't like to hear my story time. Also, mute it. It's fine. Content's still there. The content's still there. So, speaking of story time, now is a good time to do it while we're doing the coloring. So, if you guys have followed my channel, you know that my friend Jen Shirkus, she's another crafter. She's fantastic. We have very different styles, but I can totally appreciate her style. I think she's super talented. So, it was right before COVID hit, Jen had like a full-time job outside of the crafting industry, and then she also traveled to teach classes in person. And so right before COVID hit, she went full-time teaching classes. She quit her regular job. Kind of like I did last year, quit my regular job, and now here I am doing this full-time. And so one of the things that Jen started doing, I think within the last year, probably just because when you work from home, no matter what it is that you're doing, it's a very sedentary, we're sitting and we're creating and we're not really up and moving. And so Jen started doing like taking a conscious break to take a walk. And so she's hooked me, y'all. She's hooked me into this. And so the way that she does it so that everybody can participate together, it's this app that you get on your phone. It's called Step Bet. And you bet on yourself to meet your goals with real cash dollars. And you guys know I'm totally cheap. So you pay $40 to join the challenge. The calculation of how your steps are figured is actually attached to whatever like pedometer you have. So for me, like I have a Fitbit, so it hooks up to my Fitbit, and then how it sets your goals. Everybody's goals are different based on how much walking they normally do. So for me, I typically walk in a day around 5,000 steps, 4,000 steps. And so when it looked at my data, it said that a challenging day for me would be a little over 7,000 steps. It's like 7,500, I think. And then a super active day for me would be a little over 9,000 steps. And so those are my goals. And you get one rest day. So you have one day where you don't have to meet any kind of goals. And then you have to have 4 active days and 2 super active days. And then there's a warm-up week. So the first week doesn't count against you. It kind of lets you get into a groove. And then once the second week hits, now we're playing for real money. Now the challenge is on. And if you fail to meet your goal, then you're kicked out and your $40 is sacrificed. If you meet the goal every day until the challenge is over, which is to the end of the month, then you split the pot. So whatever is like left from all of the people who actually made it, split all the money that was cumulatively gathered from everybody who entered. So, yeah, I can't lose my $40 because I am cheap. And so I was like, this will be good for me because I'm trying to, I think we've talked about this recently, like I'm trying to get back into making sure I'm, reading my Bible and starting my day that way. And I was like, well, this would be another really good thing that I could do for myself because I am sitting all the time. I mean, of course, unless I'm with my kids and then I'm never sitting. But during the day, I am sitting quite a bit. Let's talk about the card. So here, I colored 2 of them because I thought I was going to use this top portion for one of the other cards. I didn't. Turns out, no. And so I'm just showing you this is, I'm going to cut them out. Here's the arch that I chose. This is another Spellbinders set that has like the, multiple arch sizes. And then I very quickly realized that rainbow background I did was just too busy. It was too busy for my liking. And so I am going to go back in and I'm going to use the candle to emboss just a white panel. And then I'm going to use that to house my rainbow coloring. There are three sentiments included in this kit, and so this one is today is all about you, which I thought was super cute, and so I stamped that, and then I'm using its coordinating die to cut it out. I decided I was going to mount all of them with foam tape just to give it a little bit of added dimension and kind of pop it up off that background, and then I'm going to set it aside until we get to the end and I'm kind of putting all of the cards together. But so anyway, so she rooked me into this step bed because it will be good for me to get up and move and to also just kind of be outside in nature and have some time to not be not be working every single second of the day, which I know I have a problem with. I know that. So that's how I got into it. Let me tell you what I did. This is terrible. I mean, it's good, but it's bad. So I was like, okay, I am going to, so the first week, did I meet any of my goals? Absolutely not. Did I pay any attention to it? Of course not. I literally did not even care whatsoever what that app said. So here I'm just going in again with that white gel pen, adding in some details. And then I'm also going to go in with some Stickles, glitter in Stardust and add some glitters to this as well. And then what am I gonna do? I'm gonna add that to another, the flames on one of the cards. I'll add the Stickles to as well. Here is where we bring in the small die of the month. So the small die of the month is meant to be this airplane that has this cute little banner. There's 3 different sayings. One of them is happy birthday, one of them is hip hip hooray, and one of them is you did it. Fantastic. Great. Love them. I think they're super cute. And so I am using the happy birthday as well as the hip hip hooray. But instead of combining them with the plane, because I have a scene idea for that, I am going to be combining it with a different set of sentiments. It's the Smooth Lines Mix and Match sentiments. So I used the best wishes and the happy birthday from that. But this has really excellent ones. It has like for you and congrats, thanks, hello. It's just a really good basic set if you like to put word dies on your cards. Let's talk about the madness that I'm doing here. Don't do this. Listen to me. Do not do this. This is my picket fence extra wide foam. And I was like, I'm going to make a shaker, but I don't want to have to do all the little pieces parts because you guys know that drives me nuts. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to put, I need something to put on the back of this stickiness. I'm going to use press and seal, and then I'll just die cut it, and then I'll peel off the press and seal. The press and seal does not peel, y'all. It doesn't. Don't do this. You have to save some release paper from something else because it sticks. It sticks to you're going to see, I'm going to pull it all apart. So for here, I did cut these together. I did the banner and the words at the same time, but the words were not as crisp as they could be. And so afterward, I did take the outside banner portion out and run them through with just the words, and that worked much better. So if you have this kit and you're having a little bit of that issue where the words are not as legible as you think that they could be, run them through just by themselves, not with the outside banner die. And now I'm just adding some shading to this. This banner could be any color that you would like. I chose to do mine just black and white because I have so much other rainbow color going on. So yeah, so with the step bed, I was like, okay, this will be good. And I can get out and start walking. But I told you the way that it decides your steps is it reads your previous data. So if I choose to do the step bet next month, it's going to read all my previous data from this month and think that I can do more. So I have to pretty much just meet the requirements, not exceed them. But I was like, I need to go ahead and knock out like my 2 active days at the beginning of the week, so that way I'm done with them, those goals are met, and I'm not scrambling at the last minute to walk like 9,000 some steps in one day at the end of the week when I'm tired. But I knock it out of the week beginning. So the game plan I come up with is I'm going to take a break once an hour. I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. If you walk for 10 minutes, you can get in 1,000 steps-ish. And then I was tied to my street. I was tied to my street because we're having our deck redone. Here I'm just doing like I guess it's kind of like a cloudy day kind of scenario, just adding in some blue. And this is going to be the background for my shaker. And now, are we to the point where we have to talk about the shaker? Yeah, I think that we are. We'll come back to the step bet. I'll try to fit it all in. I will. So here, I'm just going to put down some liquid adhesive, and then I'm going to put on my acetate, and then I am going to move on to the actual foam portion. So I used acetate from Hero Arts, and I just trimmed it down to my card size. I'm adhering that there. And now here we're going to see, so this piece right here, I cannot peel it off. There's no edge. This one I have a little bit of an edge on, but then watch what happens when I try to peel it off. Watch. We'll watch together. It doesn't peel. It's stuck. And as I try to force it, I'm like, maybe I could just like brute force it. I rip through. There's like a layer of foam that is coming off. Can you see it? There's a layer of foam that is coming off with my press and seal. And then as I'm trying to like pull it, I just straight rip the whole piece. So did I still use this? Absolutely. I'm not wasteful. So what I ended up doing was I pulled off all the press and seal, even though it totally jacked up the shape of my archway. I pulled it all off, and then I glued the foam back to itself. So I'm going to take my liquid adhesive. I am going to glue the foam pieces back together because it doesn't need to be pretty. I just need it to act as a barrier for my shaker. So I'm sorry it's off camera. I was just in like salvage mode, like that's just where I was. So I put the liquid adhesive down, I held it there for a second so that it could adhere. Once it was dry, I picked it back up. Now, because I still have some press and seal in some spots, I'm having to add liquid glue even though it's already sticky. And then I did have to kind of mess around with the placement to make sure that you couldn't see it through my archway window, but you also couldn't see it on my edges. And because I used that liquid adhesive, it did make it pretty easy to kind of move it around and manipulate it before it was completely dry. And this didn't take very much time at all. And it worked. It really did work very well. The only issue that I had, you're going to laugh at me, it's so funny. I kept trying to like stick down the part that the release paper had been torn off of, and I couldn't get it to stop sticking to my fingers. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try my scissors. Nope, that's not working. And then I was like, genius, just grab the release paper that you already took off and then just use that to stick it down. So that's what I did. And that did work. And so then I waited until that was dry. Now I'm going to go in. I'm going to add, oh, sorry about the little camera bump. I'm going to add my shaker bits. I added, what are they? These are both from Picket Fence Studios. I added the neutral hearts, and then I added the Day of Rainbows, which is adorable. Look at those little clay polymer rainbow pieces. And then I realized that the pieces, like, as I'm doing this, so I'm like, okay, I should be good to go. It's all sealed up. But then I realized that the clay pieces were maybe just a little bit too big. And if I cut them in half, I could get more rainbows that were a little bit smaller. So that's what you see me doing here. And they cut super easy. They're just thin polymer clay. So now once all my bits are in there, I am going to take that ink blended background and I'm just going to line it up to seal up my shaker bits. And then everything worked out well. So moral of the story is don't use press and seal because it's not going to peel off. I'm just going to save like the bigger pieces that I do, like full panels. I'm just going to start saving that release paper so that I can use it if I want to do any sort of die cutting. For the banners, I did cut an extra one out of black so that I can mount it right on top. And then for both of the banners, I left like a little black edge at the bottom. I just scooted it down. This is just going to give me a little bit of a shadow and help it kind of pop off the page. And then because this portion of the banner is meant to connect to the airplane, I just went in and trimmed off that little connector area. You could probably trim them into like a banner shape on that side, but I didn't really think it was necessary. There is an edge line that is embossed into the die cut so that you can see exactly where you need to line up the top portion of the banner. So it was really easy to put together. For the die cut words, I cut one out of black and one out of white, and this is just because they're a little bit thin and I wanted to give them a little bit more weight so that they were easier to work with and not as flimsy. And so you'll see me stack those up together before we put them on the card. But all in all, I think it's coming together super cute. So now let's go back and talk about my step bet. So I decide that I'm going to take a break at once an hour. I'm going to go out and walk for 10 minutes. That'll get me 1,000 steps in 10 minutes. And so that'll give me 1,000 steps an hour. So what I did not take into account is we're getting our deck redone. And actually I'm shocked that they got done so early today, which allowed me to do my voiceover. So I'm grateful for that, because otherwise there would just be like banging and clanking and all of that stuff. But so they were supposed to come. We had no supplies. We had no people. So I could not leave my street. Okay. I was just like the weird, crazy lady who was like doing loops around my own street multiple times. Like just until I got to my 10-minute. I just set a timer on my phone. So eventually, I got to the point where like I could just do it in the driveway, but like I couldn't leave my house in case they showed up. Now, mind you, they didn't show up until like 3 o'clock to drop off the supplies, and then that was it. However, this morning, for apparently today was demolition day, they were here at 8:30 in the morning. They were here at 8:30 before I even left to take Peanut to school. But anyway, I did not take into account either that I had to work last night. So I went into dispatch and I worked. So when I left for work, I was at like 8,500, like almost 9,000 steps already. So once I got to work and I was, doing my things and all of that stuff, my steps for yesterday ended up being over 10,000 steps, which is great, except it's not, because I can't. That's like, instead of just making a basket, I like slam dunked it, shattered the headboard, like the backboard. Like I can't be that high, because then the Fitbit is going to tell the step bet that I can walk that much, and then the next time I go to do it, it's going to think I can walk that much. And y'all, I can't walk that much all the time, because not that I don't enjoy the walking, I do, but I still have a job, and I have to. I cannot be spending all of my time walking, because I have to be working in order to make the dollars, So yeah, it was too much. So today it is 3:30 right now, and I'm 50 steps shy of 6,000. So which should give me an active day, considering like the kids are going to come home and I'm going to be making dinner and, all of that stuff. So that should be good for us. I can't be an overachiever like that. So this card actually ended up being my favorite card of the bunch. This is the leftover archway from the embossing, and then I used that same banner, except this time it says happy birthday, and then the top part of it says best wishes. This is the most clean and simple of the group, and consequently my favorite. I just think it's a super cute card, and the focal point is an embossing folder. Like, just goes to show you, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be something that's like super fancy in order to get the feel or the vibe that you're trying to give across. I think it's adorable. Do I also like the shaker? Yes, of course I do, because it's interactive, and there's also bits of rainbow in there. So yeah, I think that they're just a lot of fun to make, but also a lot of fun to give. Like they're just happy cards, and who doesn't want a happy card? So yeah, I mean, I got all three. I got all three kits in here, are the ones that I normally use. And then, oh, here's where we're going back in and adding the glitter to the flames. And I only did it for this one, though you certainly could do it for the shaker card as well. Just add a little extra glitter, but it's kind of got a lot of, shimmers because of the shaker portion. So here's a look at all three cards that we created, all with the rainbow birthday theme. I think they're all super cute. I think they all have different looks. You guys know I always appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.